Launch Potato is a digital media business. We own a portfolio of websites ranging from all different sectors, including personal finance, prizes and games, and privacy. Effectively, we do everything from our own media buying to building out our tech, and then work with a number of advertisers to drive highly qualified consumers to their services. I head up a number of strategic initiatives here, including everything from email messaging to a lot of performance lead generation for insurance companies, our Google Ads, and just a number of other opportunities here. So Anura sits on top of our prizes and games business, just looking for fraudulent traffic. I think it's 12 months, maybe a little longer, but I've known about Anura for a number of years. I think Rich did a really good job of walking through the product and its differentiating factors. I think it's fairly challenging to understand like fraud at its core because you can't see it in terms of when it happens, like you see it downstream. So I think just in terms of communication and opportunity, Rich just was very good at walking through those things. And I think that the output has been what he said it would be. A nice way price in this industry drives a lot of decision making because it's hard to necessarily see. You only see the output. I think that there's competitive advantages to Anura over some providers because we didn't have a lot of fraud, but I think it's more the peace of mind and mindset. It effectively enabled us to go after additional types of media that we might not have gone after before with just a greater peace of mind for advertiser protection up front. Two aspects, and we're a different company than a lot, pretty much consume everything out of their API and re-ingest it on our end. So we look at the raw data out of there and build our own dashboards. That aspect, having access to raw data is incredibly important with any of our vendor relationships. So that's a differentiation in from our perspective. The second is the redirect feature. Ease inside of Tag Manager was part of what I was looking for. I think historically we've always been a company that prides ourselves on where and what we buy. This effectively enabled us to take on a little bit more risks, while also being able to buy it effectively. Inside of performance marketing, scale is important because no matter what, you're either an agency, in which case your business model is based on a percentage of something or a flat fee, or for us, we're compensated on performance-based actions. So performance-based actions require us to be able to buy media and more media. Anura basically has allowed us the opportunity to go buy more media and figure out that top of funnel piece in a more effective manner to drive downstream conversions. A lot of what we look at is where we buy media. Ad fraud is persistent in places that have lower value, lower intent, or sometimes questionable opportunities to do it. We don't always want to be associated with that. So if we call it out, it effectively means that we're trying to buy that media more than something else. And our business is predicated on really tier one programmatic exchanges and mostly that. I do see Anura's product helping more with publisher relationships because we don't always know where the publisher itself is buying media. I think the way we describe it, honestly, is that we take our media really seriously. As such, we've put a number of different solutions in place to ensure the highest quality of traffic and leads reaches them. And inside of there's a little bit more vagueness and not necessarily giving the recipe onto what we're doing. Anura being a part of that recipe and something we want to keep to ourselves. not from a competitive advantage from what the advertiser is doing, but really just making sure that we're doing what's best and best interest for them. I think what it's really good at is flagging us when it happens on our side. So we're proactively shutting down. Everyone wants to get to points of automation and do this, but there's material costs to the business, as you said, when you start doing certain things like that, where systems like Anura and other guys come into play. I think at greater degrees for automation is more in the programmatic realm when you're working with Google and other ads, not necessarily direct sold all the time. We can work with returns, and returns are sometimes easy to quantify unless it's very, very large quantities of it you don't want to deal with. But a handful of leads, a handful of clicks, okay, that's easy to take back. Google doesn't give you that. So putting this solution in front of something like that, it could mean the difference of your account or not. Yeah, I think to summarize the opportunity in relationship with Anura is any ad fraud, and especially Anura, needs to meet a specific business need. And when you have to compare those things, I think Anura was a really good solution for us at the time. But if you don't understand or see the problem at hand, it's not going to be value additive to your business. And once you reach that scale, then you should be researching, looking at the solutions and using something like Anura. And it does become value added and you can see the impact of it. What are false positives? What are false negatives? And any solution you look at has that. So you need to trust that the provider you're going with is like a one you feel comfortable with and that you feel is doing the right thing, and there will be false positives. So going back to price, like sometimes that is a mitigating factor because you know that these false positives, false negatives happen, and you just have to trust that, okay, if they're saying the exact same thing, you're charging something different, am I getting the same thing? That's unquantifiable to an extent, unless you have a downstream incident, at which point you would know. But they are proactive in reaching out, making sure that the product is working, that it's meeting our needs, and I'm always appreciative of those things, and they've certainly been a pleasure to work with, and I would continue to work with them. The team itself has been great. Great team, great product. Fortunate to be working with them.